Hello, my friends. How you all doing? Welcome to the channel. I'm sharing stuff I shouldn't be sharing from the off, but yeah, welcome back to the Irons United YouTube channel, my friends. I am Dan, and many of the old school lot will probably remember me right from the beginning. I'm kind of back on board helping Stel and all the rest of the gang. So yeah, welcome to another daily, my friends. Today we're going to talk Hammer of the Year because obviously Player Awards season is around the corner. The season is going to come to an end by the time this weekend is done and dusted. And I thought I was going to throw a few names in the hat. It's more of a discussion piece today than it is really sort of a news bulletin or anything like that. But I thought it might be something that's quite interesting to do, basically. So obviously, unfortunately, we will have all seen last night. It's confirmed that we can no longer get Champions League football. That is a shame. Obviously, it's been an outstanding season, but the fact that we are still sort of in the mix for a European place is something I think we should all, be pretty happy about. You know, you think about what we've been going through the last few seasons, and then now to be on the cusp of Europe, I think is fantastic. But obviously, I've seen loads of stuff coming in the comments. Feel free to get involved today. I'm going to be obviously reading some comments out at the end. I know Anton still said to me not to let the dailies get too out of hand, but it'd be nice to see who you guys think are going to be sort of Hammer of the Year and stuff. But yeah, let's talk about sort of my choices, I guess you could say. I think this is a really, really difficult year for Hammer of the Year. I think that if we could give it to the whole team, I think that would probably be the best thing to do, because I think every single player in this squad has performed above expectation. You know, I'm pretty sure there's not many West Ham fans that would have sat there at the beginning of the season and said to themselves, yeah, we would be, battling it out for a top 7, 8th place, by the time the season, was going to come to an end. And also, I would say as well, if you could give it to the manager and his staff, I'm pretty sure the majority of us would do that as well, because I think the job that David Moyes and his backroom team have done is just a phenomenal job. To think where he's taken us from to where he's got us now. Have they made a few mistakes during the course of the season? Of course they have. Nobody's perfect. You can't get every single game right. You can't get your game plan right week in, week out. But for the most part, it's been a very, very good season, a really consistent season, from West Ham. So I think that, there's lots of things to consider when we think about Hammer of the Year and stuff like that this year. I think that, for me, the real sort of Hammer of the Year is David Moyes, because of the job that he's done with limited resources and one of the smallest squads in the league. But yeah, I think every single player really deserves a shout. Really, a chance, the ones that have played consistently week in, week out at Hammer of the Year. But I'm going to throw a few in the mix that I think maybe are the ones that are potentially going to be the favourites. This is just my opinion, but I think it's something that's quite interesting to sort of talk about. So I'm going to share some images with you, gang, on the screen. And I have got some stuff written down. Like I've already said, feel free to get involved in the chat. It'll be great to see what you guys are saying. I have just seen one in the chat that said I look like John Travolta. I'm not sure whether to take that as a good or a bad. He's a bit of a dodgy geezer, isn't he? But anyway, Declan Rice, obviously you'll see him on the screen with the legend is Mr. Brookin. Yeah, and he is the reigning Hammer of the Year. He was probably head and shoulders, wasn't he, above everybody else last season. Was so consistent. And, again, I think he's probably favourite to go and win it again. I know he's had those weeks out injured, hasn't he, which was a shame. It obviously come at the wrong time, his injury as well. He's probably in with a shout, though. I think he's probably going to be many fans' choice. He's probably many fans' favourite player, especially the younger generation. But he has had another unbelievable standout season, absolutely stellar season once again. Not only is he Mr. Consistent in the midfield, but he's taken on more responsibility this year. Obviously, wearing the captain armband, most weeks, obviously with Noble now, more of a squad player sitting on the bench, and he has taken to that role, brilliantly, hasn't he? He's done fantastic work on the pitch week in, week out. And I think that, he has to be in there, with a shout again. 30 appearances thus far this season, obviously 2 games to go, could finish it with 32 games played. Just the 1 goal and assist, but that's not really the side of his game that's, most important, isn't it? His pass completion's very good. 61% of his tackles, during the course of the season have been won. He's only picked up 2 cards and committed 20 fouls. So it just shows you how good he is at making those tackles and winning the ball back. He was in the top 20 of, breaking play down, interceptions, that sort of stuff. There's lots of statistics where Declan Rice is in there with, some of the Premier League's elite, and he has had another, stellar season. And, the thing with Declan Rice is, we're going to be going into silly season soon. Obviously 2 games to go this season, the transfer window's coming up, and his name was obviously, thrown around, wasn't it, during January? Chelsea looked like they were interested. Manchester United, they're blowing a bit hot and cold on the player. They think he's a bit slow and all this sort of stuff. Their scouts were saying, clearly never seen him play, if they do think that's the case. So I think a lot of us are going into silly season wondering, will he still be here next season? And I think some are worrying that because the Champions League sort of dream has kind of died and faded out at the end, because we were so close and yet now we're so far, is he going to start to think about moving elsewhere? Now, I'm going to throw this out there, and I don't know if this is wishful thinking or if this is just me evaluating the situation, but Harry Kane essentially handing in that transfer request may save Declan Rice from moving on. I think that you've got to think that clubs like Chelsea, Manchester United, Manchester City, all clubs that are very, keen on Declan Rice, they're all now looking at Harry Kane, and they're not going to be able to buy both. If they go and shell out, Harry Kane's going to go for 120 to 150 million at least. I know he's 27 years of age, but he's got a long contract. That's going to protect the fee massively. And he guarantees you 20 goals a season, as well as the assists now. So I think that he's probably going to be higher on people's shopping list than potentially a defensive midfielder. So it'd be nice, for me, wishful thinking, but hopefully Declan is with us next season and can come on a European tour with the rest of us, as long as we can get the job done in the last few games, next up, we've got Mr. Tomas Soucek. The giant check in the midfield is just a phenomenal player, isn't he? Let's all be completely honest here. He's a phenomenal player. Obviously came in on loan, didn't he, in the January transfer window last season, played half a year, did enough to warrant getting his move to West Ham, and since then he's just gone on and elevated the midfield. I think him and Declan Rice have they've struck up this partnership in the midfield that is, in my opinion, one of the best in the Premier League. They really do complement each other. If one goes, the other one knows to sit, vice versa, and he is a threat in the box as well. He's brilliant. He's gone a bit quiet, it does have to be said, in recent weeks, but I think a lot of that is down to the likes of Declan Rice getting injured, Ogbonna getting injured, and so David Moyes has taken to using him in a lot more of a defensive role, and using the fact that he is very, very good in the air to help the team out, basically. I do think that's why maybe the attacking side of his game has kind of been put to the side a little bit, but hopefully later on, we play West Bromwich Albion, he may be able to get on the end of a few crosses. But he is a namestay now in the midfield, isn't he? And I think he's probably one of the first people on the team sheet for David Moyes as well, because he's just such a consistent performer. A bit like his checkmate, who I am going to talk about in a moment, rarely puts in less than a 7 out of 10 each week. He's made 36 appearances for the club, 9 goals this season, makes him joint top goal scorer with Mikel Antonio. So it's a really good season there. Just the 1 assist to his name, but he is ranked 7th in the Premier League for headed goals and 1st in aerial duels won. So it just shows you what an asset he is in the air, both on the defensive side of the game and the attacking side of the game. There's rumour, obviously, that some big clubs in Europe are looking at Tomas Soucek, and I do worry about that a little bit. I don't think he's the sort of bloke that would kick up a fuss and try to force a move, like players we've had in the past. But I do think that it is something to keep an eye on, because, it depends how much you want to take from David Moyes' press conferences and stuff, but he did say there's not going to be a lot of money there in the summer, and I do worry that 1 or 2 players could get sold for a higher fee to potentially bolster that transfer budget, and I just hope that Tomas Soucek isn't one of them. Next up, we've got his checkmate. We have got Mr. Vladimir Coufal, who is slowly becoming one of my favourite players. It doesn't have to be said. He's just one of the most consistent players we will watch week in, week out. I still can't believe he came at the bargain price of like £5.5 million. It's just ridiculous that we got a player of this quality for that much money. And, you know, this is his debut season. We all have to appreciate that as well. Like, this has just been a fantastic season for him. And, you know, it's just a pleasure to watch him every time he pulls on the claret and blue shirt, in my opinion. Like I sort of said about Tomas Soucek, he is a consistent player. Rarely gives you anything less than 7 out of 10. Not just in his defensive duties, but in his going forward as well. I do think he's as big a threat than most of our wingers. I really, really do. When he uses that overlap and he gets forward and uses his pace, his touch, a very good ball on him, I do think he's as dangerous as the wingers that we've got, and he performs that role very, very well. And he's versatile as well. We've seen him fill in at centre back. We've seen him move over to the left hand side. You know, he's happy to just kind of get the job done. Clearly, a very happy player. You know, with West Ham, 32 appearances this year, 8 clean sheets, 6 assists, and it just makes him a constant. Like I've already said, at both ends of the pitch, and surely has to be up there for Hammer of the Year. You know, like, obviously I'm looking at these 5 players I've picked. I genuinely, as I've already said, think that there's a lot of players across the board that could genuinely get Hammer of the Year. But for me, I would actually pick Coufal just because of the fact he rarely gives you anything less than a 7 or 8 out of 10 most weeks. He's dangerous both front and back. And he's a hard player as well. You know, he's not picked up any injuries yet. You know, he rarely rolls about on the floor. He picks himself up, gets on with it. Proper old-fashioned defender. You know, a lot of people compare him to Thomas Repka, but he's not as much. Like, there's not as much brute force, is there, with Coufal? There is a footballer, you know, in there. Really, really good player. And for me, he's probably my Hammer of the Year. Be interesting to hear what you are all saying in the comments in a moment. Next up, we've got Angelo Ogbonna. Ant's probably going to murder me for this one because I know Ant's very 50-50 where Ogbonna's concerned. Him still, obviously, lots and lots of banter all the time about, you know, himself and, you know, Winnie Reid. But, you know, Angelo Ogbonna for me has just become Mr. Reliable at the back. I generally think there's no surprise that the floodgates opened at the back during the course of Oggy's injury. You know, it was makeshift back twos or back threes, whatever, however you want to look at it, with the centre back partnerships, and Dawson and Diop, or Dawson, Balbuena, and Balbuena, Diop, and Dawson, and it never really worked. You know, Diop has a tendency to just go rushing forward. His positional play is terrible. Dawson's pace, you know, isn't there, and it just became very, very sloppy without Ogbonna in there. You know, when you look at the season as a whole, when Oggy and Dawson were playing, they were so good. There weren't many partnerships in the Premier League that were performing on a consistent basis the way those two players were. You know, I think Oggy has kind of found his role in the team. He's one of the better footballers, you know, on the ball at the back as well. His distribution's very, very good, and he's just become Mr. Reliable, like I've already said. So good in the air. I think we do miss that as well. He's so commanding in the air, the amount of clearances that he wins. And I think he has to be in with a shout. I say he has to be in with a shout because I think the injury has probably cost his chances at winning Hammer of the Year. He missed quite a few games, and you look at some of the other players who have barely missed a minute, and then you look at someone like Oggy, who unfortunately missed quite a few games, and and then just hasn't been fit enough to try and force his way straight back in. I think that is what might cost him, you know, a little bit. And what I like about Oggy is he's as comfortable in a 2 as he is a 3. Whereas you look at some of the other centre backs, and I think that they're, you know, it's one or the other. For me, Diop, I'm not a huge fan of Diop. I think his positional play is a little questionable, but he's so much more comfortable in a 3 than he is a 2. And you just want a centre-back that's reliable in whatever system you're going to throw out there, basically. He has managed 26 appearances, 7 clean sheets, and 2 goals with that big, bold, beautiful head. And just a fantastic one. And now a lot of people, I don't know if they're going to be surprised at this one or not, but my last one I'm going to pick is that of Pablo Fornals. Again, another super consistent player this season. And obviously we signed him last year. And I think, when we signed him, I think a lot was said about him. I think there was high expectations and it was a bit 50-50, wasn't it? It didn't really happen for him. I think, we were told we'd sign this centre midfielder, central attacking midfielder, and he never really fulfilled either of those roles. He was in and out of the team. But this year, he seems to have just found a spot in the team under David Moyes. David Moyes is one of those managers who trusts players, completely. When he finds a player that he likes, he puts all of his trust in them. And I think he has definitely done that, with Pablo Fornals. And I don't know many people that don't love this little Spanish player. I think he's probably one of the more improved players this season, obviously based on what he managed to do last year, but his work rate is just next to none. He's happy to do the silky stuff at one end of the pitch and the defensive stuff the other. Obviously I do still think his finishing and his decision making is a bit questionable. It still needs a bit of work, but I think he probably finds his way into the 11 most weeks because of that work rate alone and his ability to just get all over the pitch. His engine it's non-stop, isn't it? And I think a lot of the work he does goes unnoticed most weeks as well, because it's not, I think when he was signed, like I've already said, I think we were all expecting this silky player, with flair and whatnot, and he doesn't do that every week, but he is definitely one of the more improved players. 31 appearances this year, 3 goals, 3 assists, and he's up there, in stuff like interceptions and whatnot in the league as well, which potentially is maybe not what you expect from a player of this ilk. So yeah, they're my picks, ladies and gents. Do let me know in the comment section below what you make. I'm going to obviously read through some of your comments shortly. Now, obviously, I think there's a couple of omissions there that I think we should mention. I think Aaron Cresswell is definitely in with a shout of winning Hammer of the Year. Aaron Cresswell I think he's created more chances than any other defender in the Premier League this year. I think he might even be tied with Digne at Everton, which is very good company, in my opinion. I think Digne is genuinely one of the best left backs in the league. So I do think that's really, really good company for him to find himself in. And a massive improvement as well for Cresswell, because I'm not being funny, but like in the summer last year, Cresswell was one I was, questioning. I was thinking maybe it's time to show him the exit door and bring in someone else. We do need a left back. We can't rely on just Cresswell week in, week out. We've all seen we can't play Masuaku there. More of a left wing back / winger. So we do definitely need to get Cressy some help. But in the most part, Cresswell's done a fantastic job this season. And I do think he's probably up there with one of the more improved players on, the last few years showing. And the other one is obviously Big Mick Antonio up top. The only reason I've not given it to Mickey Antonio is just because of his injuries. He's got hamstrings that are made of strawberry laces, and at any moment they can snap and he breaks down and he's gone for another month or two, and it's a problem and it leaves us in the lurch. And it's not Antonio's fault that it leaves us in the lurch. I think a lot has to be said about the investment that's wasn't made in January. We made the decision to sell Haller and then we didn't bring anyone in. And, you can believe what you want to believe. Obviously, Moyes has said that money was there, but he didn't just want to sign players for the sake of it. I still don't believe that. I still think that Moyes will just say stuff to be diplomatic, but that's my opinion. I'm not going to force agendas or anything on anybody, but we didn't do that. We didn't get him the backup that he needed. Had we done that, I genuinely think we would still be in the top 4 race, because I think losing Mikel Antonio for large parts of the season, I think 3 times his hamstrings are gone this year, so we've lost him for a lot of games. Still managed 9 goals and still an absolute staple in the team when he is fit, because he will run the channels. He is hard to get off the ball. He's quick. He gets in behind. I wish he'd stop taking shots from long range though. He's never scored from outside the box, so I don't know why he does that, and I wish he'd stay central. But that's the trouble when you're not a natural striker. When you played most of the game as a winger, you will just naturally do that. It's muscle memory. It's very much like that. So, but I do think he's definitely in with a shout. But yeah, that's my picks, and it's just going to be very, very interesting, isn't it? Like I've already said at the beginning of this program, like anyone really could be in with a shout for Hammer of the Year. It is wide open this year, because everyone has just been so bloody good, haven't they? So yeah, I'm gonna just scroll up as far as I can go, and then we'll have a little read of what people have said. we will. We'll start with Scott. He's put, it was Oggy until he was injured. Now between potato salad and killer, I'm going with Coufal. Soucek has been great, but name a better right back in the league than Coufal, in my opinion. Yeah, I think that I believe either Gary Neville or Carragher, I might be wrong here, but one of them had Soucek in their team of the year, and one had Coufal in their team of the year. So it just shows you how good both of those players have been. Warrior 1895, I said definitely must be Coufal. The lad is a Rolls Royce engine, does not stop running. Couldn't agree more with that. He has got an absolute engine on him. Tomas Soucek for me, Coufal a very close second due to the goal threat. While Rice was injured, did a stern job. Yeah, I think he did. He had to fill in. He was left with no choice, wasn't he? But to fill in and, you know, kind of do the role that Rice was doing and still try to help the other end of the pitch. We've got, that being said, our most important player is Rice. Hammer of the year, Coufal, bleeds claret and blue. I do agree. Like, Rice is a massive, you know, he's fit, he starts, doesn't he? And, you know, he's probably going to be made captain next year, because I know that it's Noble's last year at the club. He'll probably be club captain, but obviously I think week in, week out, it will be Rice that will be captain in the team, because Noble isn't going to be playing week in, week out. I just hope, you know, obviously for sentimental reasons, Noble, you know, he's come through the academy, spent, you know, other than he spent every minute at the club, hasn't he? Other than one loan spell, I believe, early in his career. You know, he's played all these games. Like, no players made more Premier League appearances than Noble. He has been an absolute, you know, servant to the club. I just hope we qualify for Europe so that he gets to run out at least once or twice on the European stage, listening to us, you know, away in Rome or something, singing Bubbles, because I think that would be such a nice way for him to kind of cap off his career. No one would be upset with potato salad being picked either. No, I totally agree there. Coufal, unbelievable, never gets below a 7 mark every game. Yeah, kind of echoing what I've been saying during the course of the show. We've got Mark and Afternoon, all many players are in the mix this year, and it really is close. But I would like to see Cressy get Hammer of the Year. Yeah, he's one of my honourable mentions, and for obvious reasons, you know, probably the best attacking sort of left back in the league this year, especially where statistics are concerned anyway. And, you know, like, he's probably one of the reasons why we've scored 16 or 17 goals from set pieces this year, and it's one of the reasons why we are head and shoulders above the rest of the Premier League where that stat's concerned as well. We've got Soucek for me, probably Coufal. I had to pick one. I'm not going to try to pronounce your name. I'm awful. I'm as bad as Paul Merson when it comes to that sort of stuff. Wayne Banners put Soucek for me. So yeah, it's nice to see that you're all kind of agreeing with my choices. That would have been quite embarrassing, wouldn't it, if I'd have picked a load of no hopes. Lee has put Coufal, pure consistency, Rice runner-up, and then Oggy. Yeah, nice. Interesting to see you've doing your top three, and like they're three players that I've actually picked. But yeah, I just think Rice won it last year, like at a canter, because he was so good. But I just think the competition for Hammer of the Year this year is very, very different. You are Leto, I think that's how we're pronouncing your surname. You've put my vote is Tomas Soucek. Gary Rutter's gone, yeah, I thought Oggy as well before he got injured. Yeah, and I think that is the big thing where Oggy and his Hammer of the Year is concerned. I genuinely think if Oggy hadn't got injured, I think he probably would have run away with it, if I'm being honest with you, because he was so good for so many weeks. Kent Hammers put Coufal. Kevin Bearings put, oh yes, yeah, look like John Travolta. I'm not sure. Did John ever have hair this long? I can't remember. We've got, we needed consistency in defence for an age, and Coufal has provided that. Yeah, like I've already said, like, I'm not like the oldest of, you know, West Ham fans. I'm not as old as Stell anyway, but yeah, so like, obviously there's only limited right backs that I can remember that were any good, basically, and I genuinely think that Coufal was probably up there as one of the best I've ever watched, like in a West Ham shirt. So yeah, like, obviously Repka's a bit of a hero, isn't he? Like, I think I went on my West Ham 11 and I put Repka in because I couldn't really think of anybody else. You know, there's just not been that many, you know, down the years, as there, other than if you go sort of way back, potentially, you know, before my time. So does that mean Moyes is Hammer of the Year? Like I said at the beginning of the show, I think that, you know, if we could vote for the manager to be Hammer of the Year, he'd have to be in with a shout, wouldn't he? Surely, to take us from virtual relegation. Weren't we like a couple of games ago? So like when we were on, was it like 34 games? That time last year, we were 16th, 3 points above the relegation places last season. And to think where we are now with, literally 1 win away from European competition. And for me as well, like I don't care what European competition we got. I'm a little bit gutted that we didn't get Champions League, but let's be completely honest, that is an elite competition. And I just don't really trust our board enough to invest enough in the team. Players are going to leave. We're going to have to replace them. And I still think we probably need 4 or 5 on top of any that leave to really make us competitive enough to deal with both Premier League and a European competition. And I just think that, as fun as the Champions League would have been, even if we got battered, in every game of the group stage, as fun as it would have been, I do think our chances are probably a bit better in, say, the Europa League or the new Europa Conference. So yeah, it'd be interesting. Gary's put, can't believe Stell was 70 yesterday. He needs to take it easy with the painting. It's one of the reasons that they've asked me back on the show. He can't do it week in, week out. Unfortunately, Gary needs too many naps in the afternoon. We've got Daniel Stewart, Soucek, and Rice and Cresswell. Yes, very. All been really consistent. Totally agree there. Warriors put Coufal scares defense alone. It is Johnny. Hard pick this year. If he played all season, would Lingard be a lock? Based on the last few games, probably not. But if he had carried on that consistency from when he first signed, you couldn't have looked elsewhere. He had 13 goal involvements in his first 8 games, I believe it was. So, yeah, you can't really look elsewhere, can you? It was phenomenal, the impact he made on the team. I think Lingard suffered as a result of the injuries. I really do. I just think that Lingard, I watched him against Brighton and he was dropping so deep into the midfield, almost on the halfway line to pick the ball up and try to get involved in the game. And I do think, the unbalance in the team kind of cost Lingard a little bit during the latter part, really, of the season, I guess. We've got Vaclav's gone with Soucek 1, Coufal 2, Ricebird, Lingard 4th, Ogbonna and Antonio 5th. So yeah, nice. I don't agree with any of the of any of these being put forward, to be honest with you. We've got Declan Rice for Kev. Scott's put Rice is the best tackler in the game. Yes, in the world. I don't know. There's a lot of players out there that are good. I think that Rice is slowly becoming probably the best player in that position in the Premier League, though. A lot of people talk about Ndidi, but he is more of an out-and-out holding player. Indeed, he's not really one to break forward, whereas Rice will break the line and he will get on the edge of the box in the final third, and he will spray balls left and right. Rice is slowly starting to remind me of sort of a Carrick-esque player, but one that just kind of gets forward and he's been given a bit more rein. It's just his passing ability and stuff, but he's definitely up there. There was one lad I was watching who had kind of been linked with us a little while back, and he looked a lot like Rice and it almost looked like he could have been a direct replacement. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. At the moment, no love for Cresswell. He had a fantastic season. It's not that there's no love. Obviously, he got an honourable mention, Mick, but I just feel like some other players for me just did a little bit more. Like I wonder where we would be without the consistency of a Coufal, where we would be without the Soucek goals. But that said, where would we have been without Cresswell's delivery during the course of the season? Because I've already said one of the better left backs going forward. Danielle said, I would say more like Benny from ABBA. Just the hair stuff's going to be a constant week in, week out, and I can tell. I've had this cut, believe it or not, as well. So yeah, Man United Herbert, he said, for me, Declan Rice. Are you saying that because you want to? You hope he ends up at Old Trafford? Yeah, that's very interesting. United, we have more chance of getting Harry Potter than Harry Kane. Yeah, I know, but obviously he's just. I can only report what we read at the end of the day. We say it when we do our transfer shows. It's just, it's just rumor mill. We never come on and we talk about transfers that are like confirmed or definitely happening. But obviously the rumor is that Manchester United were one of 3 clubs to contact his agent straight away, and that was Chelsea, Man United, and Manchester City. So it'd be interesting to see where Kane ends up, because if he ends up at City, the league's got to be worried, because Kane stays fit. He's the most lethal striker in the league. End of at the end of the day. Gordon's said Coufal. Lee's gone, hooray, Harry's leaving. I know, one of their own, and he ends in a transfer request. It's funny, isn't it? Up the Villa later from Gary. We've got don't scare people with Declan Rice transfer rumours, Dan. I try not to. I was trying to be really diplomatic with it still. Did you not hear me? I was saying, look, Harry Kane handing in that transfer request, it might save us. Daniel's put, I think Chelsea are waiting to see what Rice does in Europe. So like see how he performs on the European stage, and then if he is as consistent there as he is Premier League, potentially then go back in. That's a good way of looking at it, because obviously European football is very, very different to domestic football. If Stell has any paint left over, he should donate it to Anton to redecorate underneath the stairs. Yes. Agreed. I still can't believe he gets locked in that little cupboard under the stairs. Scott's wishing you a happy belated birthday still. I know you're in the chat, buddy. We've got Danielle. Man United, only if Chelsea say they're not interested and we don't go forward. Lee's put, if I was a farmer, I'd buy Harry Kane to plough my fields with that chin. Jesus Christ. Let's not get started. It's been raining today. He's probably been in trouble, isn't he? We've got. I'm skimming over some because I think it's just conversations that you guys are having between yourselves. Obviously, Stelios saying Ogbonna and Anton. See, this is the thing about this is the one thing you got to like about him. I know he's Scottish and he's all the rest of it. There's lots that could be said about Ant that people won't like, but he will eat his words. If he's at the beginning of the season, he gets something wrong, he will admit that he's wrong. But he has said this season only. Long may it continue. 56 today. Happy birthday, then, Father Snowman. Happy birthday to you, mate. I love the fact that Mick's putting old git. He's not that old at 56, surely, eh? Not that old. Scott has put Fornals most improved. Yeah, I kind of said that, didn't I? I kind of alluded to that point. Definitely has to go down. I just think he's found a system and he's found a manager that trusts him. Obviously, I don't know. I think a lot of most teams' fan bases, they watch their team and nothing but their team. I'm a bit different. I like to watch different leagues and different players. So I knew a little bit about Fornals, during his time at Villarreal, and I was quite excited about him. Obviously, we were linked with him and Ceballos, weren't we, at the same time? And if you look at it on paper, we signed the better of the two players. Ceballos has been at Arsenal on loan for 2 years and never really done it, has he? He's really, really struggled. So I do think that, Fornals has slowly kind of got to grips with the Premier League, whereas, other players might not have. So I think in the end, we actually did very well to buy the player. And Father Snowman is saying exactly the same thing. Hammers 11 saying Coufal, a job done. Yeah, I've already said he's my Hammer of the Year. He's definitely mine. Lee's put Fornals is this team's Jeff Pike. Love him. Didn't he just turn 24? What, Fornals? Yeah, I believe he may have done. I'm not sure. I can't really check right anew. Fornals will continue to get better. I don't understand the criticism he gets. No, I do agree with that still. I do think he's going to improve, week after week, and season after season. I think some of the criticism comes from that no one really knows his true position. Obviously because of the forward players that we brought in, especially with like Lingard coming in January, I think then it altered where he was playing. He was playing wide left, wasn't he, for a lot of the year. I'd come on the show before I, decided to come on and start doing a bit more stuff with the lads. But I came on a show and I was talking about Fornals, and I was saying how he frustrated me because he plays wide left, but he hasn't got the pace to play on the wing. But, still, and then we're both saying, yeah, but it's his work rate that Moyes likes. And as the season's gone on, I've grown to appreciate that a bit more. That, yeah, maybe you are being played out of position, but that work rate alone is enough to put him in there, because he will win the ball back. He will break the line. He will get in behind defences to, get the ball in the box and stuff. Like I said, though, I think if he could improve his finishing and improve his distribution, which is, something I think a couple of West Ham players could do with, then they really would go on to the next level and make us a force, especially going forward. So yeah. Will Moyes get manager of the season? I think he deserves it. I think that for me, it's between three managers. I think it's between Moyes, just because he's taken a relegation threatened team to the cusp of, Champions League and potentially to European football. I think that's massive, and I think of the teams as well, probably the most limited resources and the smallest squad. And the other two in with a shout has to be Brendan Rodgers at Leicester. If they bottle the Champions League, which they still can to Liverpool, then there'll be questions asked, I think. But he has won the FA Cup and they've had another fantastic season. And they've made themselves a top six staple, in my opinion, in the last couple of years. And that's under Rodgers. He's really settled them down. And the other one has to be Bielsa. And some might be surprised at that because it is a hell for leather approach that they go for. It's you score three, we'll score four. But they play good football. And they're on the verge of finishing top 8 in their first season back in the Premier League. And I don't think that can be ignored. They've got a positive goal difference and they play good stuff. Like Leeds are a joy to watch most weeks. And I do think that Bielsa has to be in there with a shout as well. It's just Skip. I hate it when it does this because I don't know. I don't know where I was. Okay, well, I'm going to have to wrap up soon anyway, so let's just I'll just go from here. Vaclav has said this season is special. Let's make 2 hammers of the year and make checkmates happy. Vinay, is he really 70 still? Are you still here, mate? Maybe you should be confirming that to everyone. Vinay's put, I thought he was 55. I think you're a little short by a few years there, mate. I think, if memory serves me correct. I've known Stella a while, but I can't remember exactly how old he is. Anthony Jones has put Soucek fan of the year, second Declan, third Coufal. Vinay's put Snodgrass and Rodolphe. I'm not sure who that is, but Julia Roberts, pretty woman in my opinion. Are we still on about who I look like? I feel sorry for Julia Roberts if you think she looks like me, my ugly mug. Vinay's put Kane won't leave London. So do you think then he's going to go to Chelsea then, Vinay? Obviously he's not going to go to Arsenal, is he? But they don't have that sort of money. Dan, you look like a spaniel. Cheers, John. Appreciate it, mate. Free Anton. No, let's not free him. Keep him locked under the stairs. Why would any club spend 120 million on Kane at 28 when you could buy Haaland, who's 20? Now, I was reading something about this, Lee, and apparently if you don't buy Haaland this year and you wait till next season, you can get him for as little as 80 million euros, I believe. There's a clause in his contract that allows him to leave after 2 seasons, I believe it is, for a reduced rate. So, yeah, there you go. I think Haaland will move this summer anyway. I know they've just clinched the German Cup and they've just clinched Champions League qualifying spot. I think they finished like 4th, so they've got that. But I think if a big club comes in, I think he'll be on the move. Masuaku stays with Stel. He's a good lodger. What else? Yeah, skipped again. All right, I need to wrap up soon. Anyway, so let's just do the last few. Creswell, most improved, 100% from Maximilian. Yeah, I think he has to be up there with that. My amateur month, Dawson for me. How you doing, Cyber Leader? Anton's at a Kumana convention today. Bielsa leads 3 points behind us, and we've had a fantastic season. That's worrying. Yeah, that's a really good point, actually, Scott. And that's why I say it has to be considered, for manager of the season. It's nice to know we have a choice of who is going to win the player of the season for a change, boys. Have done great for us. Yeah, definitely, Gary. And that's what I was saying, when I first started the show, that there's so many names, that we could mention, that I think it was a really good sort of discussion point to be had. Can we call the convention with only 3 fans? Watch Leeds next year. They will make an impact. Yeah, the thing is with them, they've got good owners as well. So they'll probably splash the cash in the transfer window and try to take them on to the next point. I wouldn't be surprised if Leeds really establish themselves in the Premier League once again. Scott said, agreed, Leeds have been most impressive. Anthony has said not much for him to damage in the punishment room. It's just his PC. He must be excited Spaniard when they get him out of the comment. I actually feel I'm starting to feel sorry for him. Leeds have been my second team this season. I don't do second teams, Reese, but yeah, I guess like it's always nice to see teams doing well though. Leeds will get better next season, says Gary. Shout out to James Weaver, who's had a tough time right now. Yeah, shout out to you, James. That's from Scott. How's your channel, Dan Fandango? I don't do that channel anymore, unfortunately, Cyber Leader. I closed that channel down at the beginning of last year. It just got a bit much. For those that don't know, I've had a little girl, so she's 10 months old, and my graphics design kind of like work took off, and so I stay at home, look after her, and do my work. So yeah, I just don't really do it too much anymore. I've got another little channel that I do a few videos on, but it's one of the reasons why I really wanted to get back, involved with Irons United. Still's just having his pad changed. Freshfielder, Soucek, Rice, Coufal, Fornals in that order for him. Kane gets the shakes when he leaves the London area, says Vinay. Haaland will have one more season at Dortmund. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either, Gary, because he knows he's pretty much guaranteed a move with that fee. Wonderful job, Dan. Cheers, Scott. Appreciate it. And that is that. I'm going to wrap up now, my friends. Thank you all for joining me. Really, really appreciate it. Obviously, I believe we're back later with obviously the match day stuff, the match day live and all that. Be sure to join us. I'm sure Ant will probably be leading that one along with Matt and Stell, and I might even join in as well because I'll be watching the football anyway. Remember to like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff. It's really appreciated by myself and the rest of the boys here at the channel. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you all later. Until the next one, come on, you Irons.